Hi, everybody. Welcome to part 2 of Game of the Year 2020, part 2. I know, confusing, I know. So if you're watching this, we actually decided to cut this video in half this time rather than making it one stupid long video. So we are doing our second part of the Game of the Year discussions, which means we are talking about games that came out from April through June of this year. We've got our same panel here. Cam Hawkins is here. Mario Rivera is here. Michael Ruiz is here. Mike Long is here. Ricky Freck is here. And Scott White is here. I'm not going to do all the thorough introductions and stuff like that. If you want, you can go back and watch the first video where we talked about pretty much everything that launched between April and May. We are now on to June's games when it comes to Game of the Year. I hope that is a thorough enough explanation for you if you're watching at home.
Other than Charlie has passed on to the great beyond.
Charlie did pass on to the great beyond and was replaced by a ghost, a literal ghost.
That's right.
So there he is. Thank you for joining us today, Ghost. Other than that, anybody play Clubhouse Games 51 worldwide games?
Started with bangers.
I did.
Did you actually play it? Did you like it?
Yeah. Yeah, I played and wrecked a lot of fools in Connect 4 online. So that was a lot of fun.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a fun little game to have. I doubt it will be on my top 10 list, but for what it does and what it is, I think it's really fun. The online was solid. Granted, it doesn't have to do much. But yeah,
and it can't be on your top 10 list when there's 51 games in it. So,
Oh man,
it's true.
I hate you. I hated that so much.
Clubhouse Games, the first one on DS is pretty good, but I have like no inclination to buy this one for some reason. I don't know. If you like,
I do
board
wish
games,
that I had some friends that lived near me that I could actually see within 6 feet. That also had this in Switch, so I could try the connecting multiple Switch screens to make a really long racetrack. I really want to see how that works out.
That's something you always see in the trailers, but you never actually.
I know. It's like the Game Boy Link cable or the Game Boy Advance cable to GameCube were for like Crystal Chronicles or something back in the day.
I think I had one of those.
I did.
But you need like 4 to play it multiplayer, and that's where you got into issues.
Yeah.
Game Boys, Switches, 51 worldwide classics. Yeah, it seems fun. Like, I mean, it's a very straightforward offering. We gave it a 7 out of 10, which is probably the score I would have guessed, which has probably gone to that game in the first place. It's just like, oh yeah, I know what this is. Know what to expect from this. It is.
This was published by Nintendo, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
They're getting in touch with their roots.
It's their big summer release.
As a card game company. Yeah, it's their big summer release. Bigger than Paper Mario, based on what we've heard now. I wish that was good. We'll find out next time. So yeah, there you go. You can read our review about that on the site if you want. Command & Conquer Remastered Collection was another one that came out. Chris, huge fan of the series. He actually got to review the actor whose name I cannot remember, who plays Kane in the franchise.
Michael Ironside? No, I was kidding.
Michael Ironside. I'm not well versed.
Ric Flair?
Ric Flair? Yeah.
Oh, that's Red Alert. Sorry.
I'm not well versed with Command & Conquer, so I'm not familiar with his name. But he actually interviewed him, the guy who plays Kane, and we've got the interview up on the site as well. Chris really liked Command & Conquer Remastered quite a bit. Like he gave it an 8 out of 10, but he had some very glowing things to say about what they did with this new collection, not only visually, but just kind of everything that they threw in for longtime fans, kind of the retouches up that they did to the soundtrack as well. A lot of cool things in this, I guess, if you're a fan of the franchise. Unless I'm stepping on anybody's toes, I don't think any of us have played this, though.
I played the original Command & Conquer, but I haven't played the remaster.
Gotcha. It's about what I expected. Yeah, I mean, it's out there. It's on PC right now. Sounds like EA and Petroglyph, I think, is the developer. They did a pretty decent job with this one. So, hey, been dying for RTSs. There you go. Go check that out. Yeast Memories of Celcida, I don't think we need to talk about. This is another one we reviewed. This is basically just the PS Vita version of this game has now come to PS4. Alyssa reviewed this. She gave it a 7.5. Game itself is years old. Just felt worth it throwing it in there. because it's something we reviewed in this quarter.
Good
But,
game.
Yeah, it's a remake of Ys 4, right?
It's like a combining of the two Ys 4 games that came before it into what is now considered canon Ys 4.
Okay.
Yves Guillemot?
Not Eves.
Yves Guillemot, good guy, great man, rabid king. Desperados, a great song by the Eagles. That song's actually terrible, but Desperados 3 is like low key, according to our reviews and according to Ricky Frick, is like the most slept on game of the year. This is a Western RTS that Ricky, you like a whole bunch.
Is it? It's not an RTS, is it? I mean,
Or strategy game. Why does it say
Strategy game.
Why is it a real-time strategy?
yeah, I guess it is. Yeah, sort of.
Real-time strategy. Yeah, the abbreviation RTS, you think of something different from
Yeah.
real-time strategy. I guess.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I mean, of the games I'm allowed to talk about in this quarter, it's my game of the year so far. It does a thing that I really like, which is add stealth to a strategy game where it's not just like an XCOM where you're like placing your units or your troops in a certain place and then you're trying to like line up your shots and get the best possible thing. This one you can like plan out your movements more, so you have freedom to walk around the environment, and then you can set up your guys in certain places, and then it has this thing where you can pause time and set up to where all of your characters will attack at the exact same time. So they'll have different abilities, so you can set up maybe like there's like 5 guys in a place, you have 5 characters, so you can set them all up in different places and then pause the game and set all your actions the way you want them. Unpause the game, they'll all die in like this big gunfire or gun battle. I like that. Also, I think one of the things it does really well that a lot of games don't, in my opinion, is it doesn't overstay its welcome in terms of always introducing new stuff. And once it's out of new stuff, the game's over. So one of the best ways it does this is that it almost never lets you play with all 5 characters at the same time. So you're constantly having to reassess how to approach each situation you come across. Now, the levels are like an hour long, so it's really long, and I know that's some people don't like that. It didn't really bother me, especially because the saving and loading is so quick and snappy that like if you need to take a break, you could take a break. And but being able to like, you know, the first level you just have John Cooper, the main protagonist. He's pretty normal, and then you're adding in these new players all the time, but you're never, until the very, very last level, you can never put them all together in one thing. And even the last level, I mean, and it's kind of a spoiler, but even in the last level, the way it's set up, they're still not all together technically. There's like, they can be together if you want them to be together, but the way it's set up is like they split into 2 parties and then come back for the very end. And then the other thing I want to say about it is that strategy games, at least for the most part, like this one, don't usually have a good story. And so I'm kind of hesitant to talk about the story because I think part of the reason the story hit as like being not like great or life-changing or whatever, but good, is that I came in just being like, this story's going to be, you know, pretty boilerplate and normal. And then I thought it did some interesting things and ended very satisfyingly. So go in assuming the story's not going to be great, and then maybe you'll be surprised like I was. But yeah, it's like, I can't think of a thing to say bad about it. So I don't know.
I don't think you're alone with that. Like, so this is like scoring pretty highly. I've seen it in other outlets too from everybody who's played it. So there's like a lot of positive sentiment around this game right now. I don't think anybody else here has played it. I don't know how many other people here even really knew it existed, to be totally honest. Very under the radar game that came out this past month. But yeah, everything you've said about it has even piqued my interest to a certain degree because I am not a strategy fan, really.
Yeah.
But it looks fun, and the vibes that it gives off when you watch the trailer is, I don't know, there's like good vibes to this game for some reason. It's it's kind of fun. So, anybody else want to say anything urgent about this game that I know nobody else has played?
Ricky, does this have like RPG elements? Like, do you outfit your characters, or do they have
they're
skills
all
or
so.
anything?
That's the thing I think some people might not like is like in XCOM, you could name all the characters after your friends or whatever, wrestlers, whatever you want to do. In this, they're distinct characters. They have they have abilities that they just come with, which is why the mixing the party makes so much sense because, like the main guy, John Cooper, he has dual wields pistols, and has some other things he can do. Oh, he has a knife that he can throw. And then there's like this lady that does voodoo magic, and she can like sleep dart people, not sleep dart, but dart people. And then if she darts two people, anything that happens to one happens to the other. So if you shoot one guy, they both die, right? She can also like take over the bad guys' minds. So the way they like mix the parties around with all these different abilities, it wouldn't work if you could plan them out yourself. Like the scenarios wouldn't. They'd just be all the same, which would be much less interesting.
Do you have like equipment you can change, like better armor or better guns, or
Nope.
do you gain levels? Okay,
Nope.
everything's
Nope.
static.
It's all the same, yeah.
Interesting.
So that's why the changing of the party is so important, because that's what gives it that, makes everything feel a little different, gives it that twist that would come with leveling up.
That kind of reminds me of kind of a deep cut. I don't know if any of you guys played it. Was Codename Steam on 3DS, where you're like with Will Wheaton as Abraham Lincoln,
Yeah.
and you're like XCOM Patriots.
Yeah. I didn't play that, but I know what you're talking about, yeah.
Okay, that kind of reminds me of that.
I knew there was an Abraham Lincoln strategy game, but I actually totally forgot that existed until now. Ricky, I guess the only other thing I'd ask you on this one is, do you think it's a Game of the Year contender?
I think if more people play it, it could be. I don't think more people are going to play it, and I think that there's going to be a lot more people in the camp of like, I don't know, maybe The Last of Us or maybe Final Fantasy VII, maybe even Deadly Premonition 2. But, yeah.
So you're saying if we all played this would be this year's Judgment, but we just have
Oh, it might. I mean, I don't know. Probably not, because it's not like wacky and
How much-
great.
how
It's not
much
as
is-
great.
How
Does
much
John
is this
Cooper do
video
a
game?
kickflip?
He does not do a kickflip. He's
How much
very much like your typical cowboy.
I think it should say on our review, Mike. I think it's $50. It's $50.
Okay.
So there you go. That'll be a game to get you out of your gaming funk you were telling me about
Yeah.
earlier.
Maybe I check this out.
Jump from Dark Souls to that.
Yeah.
So there you go. Desperados 3. Anybody like Halo?
Pretty cool.
Wow, no one likes
yeah.
Halo.
There was a
I
Halo
guess.
game that came out?
I love Halo.
Oh, no, there was a game that came out by the man that made Halo.
Oh.
And it was like
Well, Halo 2 did come to the Master Chief Collection, I want to
That's
say.
right.
This quarter.
Master Chief Collection.
So you
Halo
could have
2,
been
the
talking about that.
2020 Game of the Year. Disintegration came out. Cam, you reviewed this. You gave this a 6.5. You had positive things to say about the multiplayer, not so positive things to say about the single player, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, like the multiplayer, when I played it at PAX West, I immediately was just like, I want to just keep playing games here and nothing else. And then we played some of the multiplayer, even though it's kind of hard to get some matches in because it was before the game launched. We had a good time, and I still really enjoy it. And I think that if enough people like supported it, it would it has a lot of potential to be a really great multiplayer game. I don't know, it feels different to me. It feels unique in some senses, especially with the retrieval game mode that they had, because they only had 3. It was like a domination mode, a like kill confirmed, where you have to pick up like the tags when you kill units or the drive. I forgot what they're called, the drivers. But the story was so disappointing. The missions were garbage. There was even an escort mission in the campaign. I'm like, that's like the worst. It's terrible. It's terrible. But I thought and the story wasn't great either. But I thought that the gameplay was very well polished and solid, and I think the multiplayer has a lot of potential to be great. But yeah, I was really disappointed in it overall.
I can jump in. I played this one too for a bit, especially the multiplayer. I can't speak to the single player. I know, Mike, you played the single player a little bit. I played the multiplayer of this, and yeah, it's definitely. I don't think it had its hooks in me as much as like you were talking about there, Cam. But it definitely does seem to offer something a little bit different. For me, I don't think that difference was enough for me to want to keep sticking with it, but I enjoyed those few hours we definitely played it last month.
For sure.
It's definitely an amalgamation of some different ideas with the kind of like RTS elements, sort of, with moving your squad around. It's more just squad based, not really RTS focused, I guess. But like commanding a squad, moving them around, kind of telling them where to go and what to do. That kind of mixed with the different style of shooting where you've got the different classes and things like that. And then you're riding around on a hover bike. It's definitely unique. But yeah, I've not really thought about it ever since we played it either. But I also didn't dislike the time I played into it. I don't know. It's just one of those. It's just the market's so oversaturated with so many things now. Like it's just hard for things to really get their hooks into you. I don't know if that's the same for you, but that's really how it is with me nowadays. And so multiplayer stuff specifically, I really can't say anything too terrible about based on what I've played, but it's just other than the fact that I played it and then it was about it. I don't doubt I'll play it again. So
it's not a game that I am still hopping into to play multiplayer or anything like that, but if people were like, hey, you want to play Disintegration, I'd just be like, yeah, let's go. So
do you want to say anything about this one, Mike, or not really?
I mean, there's not really much to say. I don't know. The multiplayer was really fun when we played it, but again, like it comes down to like, am I going to play this over like playing with a bunch of people in Valorant, or am I going to play this more than I play like Rainbow Six Siege, and it's just a big no. So it's like it's good, but I don't think, and it is unique, but I don't think it stands out so much because in the end of the day, it's still kind of a first person shooter. It just has the hover bike mechanic thing that makes it kind of stand out a little bit, and also like controlling your people and stuff. But even then, like when you're doing that, like in those, and especially during like the team deathmatchy kind of sort of multiplayer matches, I feel like you just kind of get lost like with trying to control your units, and that's not really even a factor at some points. Like it kind of is, but it's really hard to keep track of everything. That retrieval mode though, or I forgot what it was that we were playing, was kind of neat though. Yeah, that was super cool. But yeah, I played about like 2-3 missions of that single player, and it just feels so empty and dull. It's just really, it was just kind of really boring, and I like the gameplay of it, but there's never a moment where it got like any hooks in me. I like played like for that day like 2 or 3 missions. I'm like, I just don't really want to play this anymore. So yeah, it's okay. It's fine.
Disintegration. Yeah, in a time where like I mean, speaking about Halo specifically too, like in a time where all the Halo games are coming to PC too, it's just like I'll just boot up Halo and play those instead. I don't know. I know they're two totally different offerings, but like we're talking about like how this would be something that you choose to play over another, and it's just like, yeah, there's too many other competitors out there really vying for your time in the first person multiplayer space.
Yeah.
Disintegration. It's a game. West of Dead came out as well. Otto reviewed that one for us. He gave it a 7 out of 10. It is a roguelike. It features Ron Perlman of War Never Changes fame. Otto generally liked this one. I think he had some issues with like how the roguelike structure was set up. Mainly like if it felt way too, your runs hinged way too much on the guns you got at the start of your run, and that basically determined a lot of it. His review's up on the site. You can go check that out. That's actually a fairly new one. Game's definitely got a lot of style though. I'll give it that. Kind of got like a gothic looking Western vibe to it. It's pretty cool. West of Dead. Check that one out if you want. Unless somebody here has played it. I'm totally skipping over it. Sorry. But
I'm interested in trying it eventually, but like I don't expect to sit down and play it sometime this year.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Cam on that one. It looked neat. I'll probably try it out sometime, but I don't know.
is it a Game Pass game already?
I think it launched as one.
There you go.
Yeah.
Some games you just see and you're like, that feels like Game Pass. Is it? Yes, it is.
I mean, most significant indie releases launch on Game Pass at this point. So
yeah, I remember what was the one I was.
Right. That's the new one that just came.
Yeah.
Out.
What was the other one? I was like, I'm just gonna wait because it's gonna be. It was
Rage?
Not Streets of
Yakuza
Rage.
Kiwami.
Maneater?
Kiwami, not no. Older. Rat Game. Hugo. Plague Tale.
Plague Tale, a Plague Tale.
Like Plague Tale came out and people were like, "You play this?" I'm like, "It's gonna hit Game Pass. Just give me 6 months." And
Yeah.
that's it.
It's a good game.
I did play
Yeah,
it.
I know. Yeah, the first 2/3 of that game is really good. The last third is not good.
I hear it gets bonkers at the end, and
Yeah,
It's
I like
ridiculous.
it.
It's
I like
awesome.
it.
No, stop.
I never got to it. I got to like maybe halfway through the game, and I like what
Keep going. You're almost there.
Well,
Yeah.
once it got to the part where it was like,
So bad.
I am a little boy and I control all of the rats. I was like, all right, this is dumb. I'm in for whatever's
Yeah,
after
that's
this.
real
But then when rat
Yes.
tornadoes show up, I'm like,
Yeah.
no, we're already getting
Wait,
stupid. Let's just get
No.
really stupid.
All right, I'm in. Yeah.
See,
Okay.
this is what I was saying earlier. I said in part 1, like Logan likes either stupid, ridiculous games or Dark Souls games, and that's it. Because I was just like, because for me, that like is what turned me off. I was just like, okay, now we're just getting
you
like
just say-
supernatural, like ridiculous.
No, I agree with
So
you.
what you're saying, Cam, is you hate fun?
No, I like fun. It's just like the right way. It's like when the first 2/3 of the game is like pretty grounded, and then it's just like
it's like your
I
father
can
gets
do-
killed, and then your mom
can-
like sacrifices
I can
herself.
control rats, and here's a giant white rat tornado that drops down on you because the Pope is whatever.
The Pope is always bad.
If the Pope's in a video game, yeah. Pope and churches, they're always bad in video games.
I guess a good way to distill down my enjoyment of video games would just be to say Metal Gear Solid, where it really rides that fine line between being, like totally serious and you're like, I'm all in, I'm so invested, and just like totally dumb at the same time. It is like a perfect balance for me of both. It's a great
Remedy.
mixture.
Like Remedy.
That is what I like. I like that.
Cancel his eyes.
Thinking about it, I'm like, because I recently played through the first 2 Metal Gear Solid games, and I thought the first one narratively was phenomenal, but the second one, like, it kind of falls along the line of what you're saying. Like, I get what you're trying to do here, but it's a little bit too much, and you know, I still
got silly moments in it, like Otacon pissing his pants when you find him in a locker and stuff like that.
Oh, and he's crying about his sister.
That's
And he
ridiculous,
can't
though.
stop
That's-
crying. Oh.
like I didn't find that to be like like ridiculous or over the top or anything like that. I was just like, okay, yeah, the dude's scared and pissed his pants. Like,
It's
okay.
not Vamp.
I like the part where
It's not
Otacon
the man
talked
with-
about otaku culture and anime to Snake. That he that very much looks like a cyber ninja from a popular anime.
Anyway, Last of Us Part 2.
Speaking of
For the
Metal
end.
Gear
We should
Solid
save this for the
2,
end.
Do you want to
We
say
should
this?
say this.
Okay,
We
we'll
should say this for the end because
we'll
the other
save
ones
it.
I feel
Yeah,
like
I
are going to be
agree.
quick.
All right, SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated. It's that game again.
Yeah. To keep it short and quick, if you love SpongeBob and you grew up like during the golden age of SpongeBob, like when it first started to like the SpongeBob SquarePants movie, you will love this game. For it being that nostalgia trip that you want. As a remake, you know, it's not even really a remake. It's more like even though it is, it's more of a mixture between a remaster and a remake. They could have definitely done things to make it better. But I think when it comes to the SpongeBob brand itself, I think they were very, they definitely wanted to do right by that brand. And I think they did. It is a fun, 8-hour game where you can 100% it pretty easily for those that care about platinums and achievements. So yeah.
There you go.
And the
Anybody else?
multiplayer is terrible. The multiplayer is terrible. There's no point in playing it.
Yeah, play the multiplayer.
I didn't even know there
If
was.
you do, make sure you get to round 26 before you quit.
Yeah, like
Like,
me
Cam.
and Logan were talking about how they had like this trailer or like an interview or something like right before the game came out. It's like, what's your what's the best thing about this remake? And then the developers are like, the multiplayer. It's like, no.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
I think that was on one of those like summer game stream things on like IGN. I was watching it. Yeah. They're like, what do you love the most of that you've added? The multiplayer. It's like, no, you don't. No one really likes this unless you're like a little kid. There you go. We've got a separate video conversation up about that on the YouTube channel. If you
That's
want to
right.
check
You can click it here somewhere.
not a note that means you're going to add that, or else you'll forget.
Yeah, 24 minutes.
There's a couple other things we have on here. I don't know. We've got Deadly Premonition on here, which is a July game. I feel like we should save it.
Okay, fine.
Is there anything you do want to say quickly about it?
Just trust the pizza. That's all you need to know.
You have the highest review for this on the internet, I think.
Seriously, someone is smart out there.
Seriously? That's awesome.
I think he does. And when I saw it running, like when I just read what you, I'll just say this. When I read what you wrote, I was like, damn, well, it sounds like pretty down. It sounds like the game's pretty rough. Yes. And, but it sounds like he genuinely loved it. Like you go as far to say it's like your favorite game in the past 5 years, except for like Nier Automata.
That's awesome.
And Yakuza.
A lot of peers, like our favorite game of all time is the first game, so that doesn't particularly surprise me.
This game, though, when I saw it running, I was like, man, I don't know if we should have given that a 9. I should have needed to verify this for myself. But we'll own it. Let's go with it. We'll talk about that next quarter. I'm sure your passion for it will remain. Maybe you'll be on another playthrough by then.
I hope so.
Ricky,
You want a better frame rate.
Ricky, on a scale of Twin Peaks Season 1 to Firewalk with Me, how good is this game?
Well, this is where you're gonna get disappointed.
Oh no.
That I've only seen like the first 2 episodes of Twin Peaks.
Never mind, continue. Just keep going. Go ahead, Logan.
I thought you were going to say Fire Walk with Me.
Mike, you want to talk about skateboard games? Skater XL's on here, I know, but
Yeah, I put Session and Skater XL because we didn't talk about Skater XL because technically it came out I think last quarter.
Did it?
Yeah, like the early access because these are both early access stuff.
Yeah.
But I have been playing so much of it is like the game that I like exclusively play now that I am not technically with DualShockers and I could play video games.
Taking screenshots.
I just think it like perfectly brings like what people thought they liked about Skate and all of that and brings it into like a modern light, and I think it does it really well. In different ways too for both of them, where Session I think really simulates like skateboarding and the act of skateboarding and all of that, whereas Skater XL I think has better like a better feature set and like better replay editors and stuff like that. So I don't know, I just think when everybody was so hungry for like a Skate 4 and we didn't get that announcement at that time, and then playing these games, I think these games like kind of really like I'm not really even that excited for a Skate 4 anymore in the end of the day, because like these games kind of like brought that game that I wanted for so long, like brought Skate 4 but in a different way. Yeah, I just think they're really good. They would be like if I was doing like my top 10 game of the year list, like Session and Skater XL might be like my number 1 for my personal game of the year list. But obviously I don't think it'll hang at all. But
Which one do you like more between the two?
it's really I don't know because I like Session's gameplay a lot more. I think it, like I said, like I think it's more realistic, and I am as someone who used to skateboard and wishes they could do that again, but not break my limbs. Like Session is a really good like replacement for that, whereas like Skater XL has like a way better and easier replay editor. And so even though sometimes the tricks look kind of goofy or not as realistic, you can make it look real cool like with the replay editor. And that was like part of the reason why I played a ton of Skate. Because Skate, how I played it was kind of like how you would with actual skateboarding, is just find a spot, film a bunch of, tricks or lines or something like that, and then record it or whatever. And just for fun or whatever, really, there was no objective. It was just something I liked to do. And I think Skater XL does a really good job with that kind of stuff. So I like them both a whole lot. I think they're both really good. And if you were like waiting for Skate 4, I don't think you need to wait. You could play these games like now. I think Sessions on like Xbox One and like Skater XL is on PC right now, and it's gonna be officially out in July. But yeah.
So last thing I'll ask you about these, because I feel like you're the main person playing, unless somebody else has. But
I think Ben has. But
what if you're holding out for Skate Bird?
also, now skateboard. This is the thing. There's two different styles of skateboarding video games. There's these like simulation stuff, and
Oh,
then there's
you're
like there's the
take
Tony
this
Hawk games
serious.
that are coming out, right? Well, you could just say fuck Tony Hawk. Let's play Skatebird.
There you go.
That's where it's at. The real Hawk, the real bird, the real Birdman of skating, Skatebird.
You know, there's going to be like a hawk bird named Tony
They're better.
in that game.
If they don't, I don't know. It's a really missed opportunity.
Remember when we tried to play that game and it was terrible?
I had a fun time.
I mean, it was kind of funny because like just the game is silly, but
yeah. I mean, it was
feel great. It feel great in that demo we played.
Yeah,
Was it December, I think, like an early access demo.
Yeah,
With the
I mean,
game
yeah.
boards.
If they polished it, I think it'd be pretty fun. But yeah, it was kind of janky.
Skateboarding, it's back and better than ever. Maybe. Was Griftlands? Somebody take over. I don't know what this is.
Yes. Yeah, so the Griftlands I feel like for me is the one big game, like under the radar game that I think that we should like play. Kind of like you know that I think that everyone should keep an eye on. It's technically in early access right now on Steam, but I've heard from numerous people, like enough to put on the list and bring it up, that like it is incredibly in depth and just a very well made game with, again, just like there's a lot to it, and it's only $15 to get access to it. How you use cards for like conversations, negotiations, and then like every character that you interact with, I think like you can have like some sort of you can have like a relationship with them, in the sense of like it'll tell you like, oh, this person hates you now, or like, oh, this person feels this way, and blah 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 blah, and depending on what you do, like depends on like the abilities they get and like skills and things like that I don't know, it's definitely a game, like the game out of like the big outside of the big titles that obviously like are going to be in the conversation, that I'm going to go out of my way to play, just because of how much good stuff that I've heard about it, and I just wanted to put that on everybody's radar. $15 on Steam.
I just looked it up. I've seen this game. This does look really cool.
From
I've been
so, the Ninja.
Yeah.
Especially if you are into like it's not like Slay the Spire or 1 for 1 or anything like that, but like it's basically like this year's Slay the Spire, I guess, in that sense that it's a card game. So I'll just keep an eye out on that one. I don't know if anyone else has actually gotten to play it yet or has heard anything else about it, but I definitely think that everyone should try and give it a shot before the end of the year.
Tainted Grail is another one of those Slay the Spire-esque card games that's out in early access right now. It like melds Slay the Spire and Diablo, which is kind of interesting.
Y'all remember Shank? In Shank 2?
Mask of the, or was it Curse of the Ninja or Mask of the Ninja?
Mark of the Ninja.
Mark of the Ninja.
That game's
fantastic.
good. That
still need
game
to play
needs a
that.
sequel.
Yes.
They did Crypt of the Necrodancer? Why is it on their page on Steam? That wasn't them.
Clay? They didn't do that.
Yeah, they didn't do.
They did Don't Starve. They made Don't Starve.
Yeah. There you go,
Maybe-
Griftlands. Put it on your radar, everybody. Cam,
And I'm looking right now. There is a free demo to download.
Yeah, I just started downloading it.
There you go.
But yeah.
Mike's video feed gets fuzzy now. You know why? Did you also put the Pokemon capping game on here, Cam?
Yeah, I did. This is a game that that the Pokemon Company announced, and it's kind of like your typical like mobile puzzle like Candy Crush type game, but I think it has a really a great art style. I think that the actual puzzle aspects of it, it's different, it's unique. You kind of like just have to swipe. It's a touchscreen type game. Even on Switch, there's no like real controller support in that sense. And you just swipe as many of the same icon, like whether it be Pikachu, Squirtle, like whoever it may be. And you'll like, depending on how well you do, you'll get different abilities, and depending on which Pokemon is like your assistant in making these meals for these Pokemon, you get they have certain abilities that they can clear a certain area, a certain direction, and things like that. And as you progress, more Pokemon will join your staff. Your cafe will get bigger. It's just a really fun, like, it's probably, and not even just because it's Pokemon, it's probably like the best example I've seen of that traditional mobile game formula. I think it's the most fun and approachable, and I think that even when the game gets started, where you won't easily beat the level on your first try, that it feels like it's not as heavy against like, oh, you ran out of hearts. Like I feel like that doesn't happen. It doesn't happen as often as like if I were to play Candy Crush or something like that. So I just think that for those that like those type of puzzle games, it's definitely worth checking out. It's on Switch, iOS, and Android for free. And obviously there are microtransactions and stuff for those that want to really get into it. I only spent money to get the special Pikachu with like the cake outfit, because there's an actual difference between that one and then the normal Pikachu. And yeah, it's a really cute game. Again, the art style is really nice. Might be my favorite this year. Yeah.
I had a question. Is there progression with it in terms of like if I want to play on my phone?
I actually think there might be.
Okay.
Because there is a thing when you start the game that says like that gives you the option to transfer data.
Okay.
But I didn't look into it because it was my first save. So I'm not 100% sure on that one.
I definitely would. I mean, I kind of would want to play this game, especially if I could play it on my TV to my Switch to like, when I go to work and I got time I got to kill, I wouldn't mind playing it on my phone.
Yeah. Unfortunately, you can't play it like with a controller or on TV. It's all touchscreen, but
even so, still fun.
But even so, like, yeah, it's definitely would be a great game if you can just transfer your saves around like that.
Yeah.
So just to be clear, you're serving the Pokemon food, correct? Or
what?
The Pokemon are you serving the Pokemon the food, or are the Pokemon serving you the food?
You're serving Pokemon the food. It is a Pokemon cafe where Pokemon come in and they order food, and basically like they have like a heart meter, and once you fill out their heart meter of sorts, they join your staff. They're like, hey, I want to help make food too, and then they automatically join your staff. You can't like deny them or anything like that.
Okay. I was gonna say, I'm trying to think of a game where like Kangaskhan is making me a latte or something.
Have you played?
Fun.
Have you played? What's the cafe game that I played last quarter or whatever?
Coffee Talk.
Coffee Talk. Yes.
I haven't played it yet, but I want to by the end of the year.
Good. It's really good. I like it.
Yeah.
The more I think about it, the more I love it.
I want to come in and tell me about his marital issues.
Yeah, my fiance played Coffee Talk though.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm definitely gonna play it.
So.
There you go. Pokemon Cafe. Who wants to talk about PSO2? How's the list growing? PSO2. I know.
Yeah. Glad it's finally. I don't know if this would really count, because considering it's like a 5-year-old game, but it's just new in the West officially. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. It scratches that itch that I enjoy with kind of these looter RPGs and the original Phantasy Star Online, and being able to play on Xbox and PC right now is a lot of fun. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. Play with me. I'm on ship 2.
Okay. I actually started playing this when it first came out, so maybe I will play with you. Because I was having a lot of fun. I did like the first few missions or whatever that you can do, and I thought it was super fun.
Anybody else want to talk about this?
No, I'll just bring up old memories of the 360 game. And
Who put Deep Rock Galactic on here?
So I did because I kind of in the same way that Cam brought up Griftlands.
Griftlands?
I've just heard a lot about this game, and it's one that I'm like looking to play. But also, I saw that Chris said that it is one of his favorite games of the year on staff. So yeah, I know it's just like a first-person, like I think it's kind of like a dungeon crawler, like first-person shooter. There's like 4 different classes, and you like just explore procedural generated caves and stuff like that. And I'm assuming get loot and stuff. So it looks really cool, and I've just heard a lot about it, and a lot of super positive things about it. So just as something like keep on the radar. I want to play it by the end of the year at some point. So
I'm definitely getting some Borderlands vibes from this game.
Yeah.
So
I think it's more like procedural, kind of Diablo-ish.
Yeah, that would
more
be
so than, or like roguelike more than a Borderland.
Yeah, I'm just seeing like more from the art style and character and like the enemy design that I've seen, and like I'm like looking at these enemies and they look straight up like spider ants from Borderlands. But yeah, this looks cool. I'm down to try it out whenever y'all want to squad up and do so.
Yeah, same. It's been on my wish list.
Oh yeah, it came out in May. Okay.
Yeah.
It was in early access for a good long while though.
A few years, I believe.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It said it was Depp Rock Galactic, and it was about Johnny Depp's ongoing trial against his old wife.
It's Amber Heard? Oh no.
Yes.
Whoa. Timely.
And with that, let's talk about The Last of Us 2.
What a transition.
We at the end? Oh my god.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I have to wake up at 3:30 in the morning.
I was gonna say Mike's gonna wake up. I want to start this one off if that's okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
there's obviously a lot to talk about with this one, which is why we had a 2-hour discussion on its own, like not too long ago. Again, Mario, where do you want them to click on the video? Gesture in a certain direction.
You can click right above
Down
me.
here.
Right up right there. Right there.
There you go. We did a really long discussion about this. Our staff's been discussing it internally for a while. We all have different takes on this game to a certain degree. I guess my overall thing with this one is like I'm trying to set the tone for this discussion in a certain way, because I feel like we could get into the semantics about the story and run circles in that forever.
You could start with Cam was right.
I don't understand how you're right.
We don't know what you're right about.
What are you right about? Let's hear it.
Yeah.
Dang, dude.
That it get
This
heavily
is already
praised.
getting heated, guys. I don't like how this is getting already.
Are we going into spoiler territory? Right, we are, right? Like,
Yeah, I mean, spoiler. I mean,
I spoiled the shit out of Final Fantasy VII, so why not?
yeah. So okay.
Yeah, spoilers for this game, obviously. Feel free to ping off here at this point if you don't want to hear about this, but the whole internet's been talking about this game. I mean, this game is sticking with me quite a bit. Still thinking about it. Still think it's a very high quality product. Still think it's one of my favorites of the year. Still think it's one of the best of the year that's come out so far. That's just all my high level ideas about it. I don't think it's perfect by any means, though, and I don't think it's better than the first game either. There are aspects of it I like a lot more, and then there is I mean, we were talking earlier. I mean, we hinted at it in the other video that we did before. We're talking about pacing and stuff like that. There's an epidemic of games that should be 12 to 20 hours long that are instead 20 to 30 hours long nowadays. And I felt like we were talking about that with Final Fantasy, and you guys mentioned that here. I agree. I feel like this game could have been tightened up in some areas. I don't think we could have gotten down to that 12 to 15 range. I feel like some parts of this game definitely needed to be long because of what they were trying to do. But back half of the game definitely feels lengthy at times, especially when you're trying to get back to kind of that stopping point at the theater. I feel like just the detour of getting back there just felt like it took too long sometimes, but I also understood why they felt the need to do that. Again, there's so many specific things we could talk about in this game. Broad talking point about this game. I think it's incredibly good. I don't understand the sentiment from the internet with people just blasting this game endlessly. Like, it doesn't, like, I can't even rationalize at the point of view, even if you hate this story, like, there are so many parts of this game that I think are impressive on their own merit. And if you hate the story, like, that's a huge thing. And I totally get that. And I'm not saying no one's at liberty to dislike the game or anything like that. There, again, even that it's without problems, I've got a fair list of issues with the game myself, but I just think it's like one of the most impressive games that has come out in the past year or so. Yeah, I don't know. Very good. Whoever wants to take it from here can.
I don't think I should go, so I'll let someone else that might have a
I mean,
secondary
I guess
opinion.
I guess I'll just go more into the positive side of it. Like, for me, this is probably, again, like, outside of like the skateboarding video games that I like playing, this is probably like my game of the year choice. And I do like it more than the first one, but also I don't think this one can exist without the first one at all.
Yeah.
But it is a sequel.
It says
It
part
is a
2.
sequel.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's part
But
2. Like, you know.
I
What
know,
I mean?
I understand, but like you could put, that's not the point. I mean, like, it's just like I think it's a super well told story. It's, I don't know, like it hit it, I like Logan. I keep on thinking about it a whole bunch. Like, it's one that I'm still like trying to figure out how I feel about certain moments in there, like the switch. Okay, we'll just get into it. Like the switch to Abby and playing as her part and stuff like that, and some of the other story details, like at the end and stuff like that. So it's just like one that I just keep on thinking about, and I really do like it. I think it's probably one of my favorite games of the generation. I like the improvements they do, like just on like base gameplay stuff. I really like the improvements they make, like for Naughty Dog games in general, because I have been on record saying that their games play like garbage, and I think they really improve upon that, like in this game in particular, in some really good ways. It's not like the best by any means. It's not like you're playing like I've seen a lot of people compare this to like Metal Gear Solid 5, and I don't think that's the case at all.
I don't get that one either.
I don't get that one. But it
It's
does,
like another level mechanically
game's
above like
incredible.
everything.
It's so good.
that game's incredible in terms of gameplay. And I don't see that, but I guess I get the comparison in that, like comparing it to like the first Last of Us or even just Uncharted 4. Like it definitely improves on like not just the gameplay itself, but also like how they've laid out some of the levels and stuff like that during encounters and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I think the characters are all super well done and really fleshed out. I have, again, publicly announced that I have a Jesse fan account. That's my Twitter. And he is the greatest character in video games. And yeah, I just think all the characters are really nice. And everything, like, love it or hate it, I think everything feels deliberate in that, both gameplay and story-wise. Like, it doesn't feel like they're just, like, plopping in random shit. It feels like every single moment they're like done deliberately, which I appreciate. But yeah, I think the pacing is pretty off, for sure. Especially like when you play through all of Ellie's parts, you hit that part in the theater, and then you have to go back and do Abby's parts all through that whole day cycle again. Like, I understand, like, that is a trek that is not great. But I think it kept me going along the way with how they were telling like Abby's story and Ellie's story and then putting them two together. I thought that was really well done. In the end of the day, where it was like every moment I was like, I don't know if this is gonna work out, and then I think they really stick the landing by the end of it, like with every single thread that they have and throughout it. So I don't know. I just think it's a really great game. I really, really, really enjoy it.
You can speak up, Mike. You looked like you were wanting to say something.
I played it through. I'm actually working on my second playthrough, and of all the games that Naughty Dog's made, this is probably the best looking. I think it's even better looking than Red Dead Redemption 2 or God of War or Horizon. But the gameplay is dramatically improved from, Last of Us 1. Gameplay is really improved. The action was really good. The storytelling to the characters of Ellie and Dina and, Abby was really good. I can understand, some people are, don't like the story because, their character, spoiler alert, dies. But I understand that. But I also understood the story, and this game's, like you said, Logan, has made me think more and more after I played this game. It makes me, I'm still thinking about this game, after playing and beating it.
Yeah.
A game hasn't done that to me. I mean, even though I said, Final Fantasy VII is my game of the year, this is probably my game of the year right here, is Last of Us 2. It's such an amazing story. I understood the ending. But,
I think
I love what you brought up right there. We said that like this is you're still thinking about it days later. The only other game that made me reminds me of that is actually the Walking Dead season 1.
Yeah,
I was thinking.
I mean,
about
I
it
understand
days
some people
afterwards.
say, they felt desensitized because, they watched The Walking Dead and things like that.
Yeah, I don't know.
I will say, like, the one thing that I've like noticed is that when there's people who, or when somebody brings up like a problem they have with the game, it's not, I never like brush it off. It's totally like always a fair criticism,
Yeah.
like every single time. Like I never disagree with it. It's just that like for me personally, like some of that stuff just didn't like affect my experience more than it did for others.
Yeah.
But again, like a lot of the problems that it has, and I'm sure like Cam and Scott and I'm sure they'll speak up about it.
Oh, they will.
And
Well, like-
I think a lot of, and I think some of the criticisms we had with like Alex brought off too during our discussion stuff, all super fair. Like they are incredibly valid, and I totally agree with them.
Yeah.
It's just that for me, like it just didn't ruin the experience of it. So
Cam, I know you want to. I know Cam wants to. Go ahead, Mike.
I know you said about the pacing, and I thought the pacing was fine, and I was all, at the point where I got to Abby, I was like, why did they make me play as Abby? And after, playing her, get towards, why you're playing as Abby, I was like, oh, now I understand why I'm playing as Abby and why she's doing what she's doing. The game's magnificent from through and through.
The only kind of piggybacking off of Mike real quick, and then you can jump in, Cam, because I know you were about to a second ago. The only criticism that people keep throwing forward about this game, or some people, especially in regards to stories, that it's lazy, or they took it in a direction that they took it in a direction they didn't like, or they killed off a beloved character, but they did it in a bad way. It's like I can't agree with that whatsoever, because the entire game is shaped around that event and then moving forward from it, and it's like the game has such a clear vision from beginning to end, and I think you can disagree with. I think you can straight up not like it. Like, it's totally fine.
Yeah.
But like, they did actively what they wanted to do, and everything services all of the decisions that I think they made in the game. Like I don't understand people who act like it's just like this thing that they did flippantly to kill off Joel and just we're just gonna do this and we go from there.
I'm gonna
like that.
and I want to speak on this game, but I want to speak on after Cam and obviously
play
Scott.
like part
But
one, you understand.
that's what I'm about to bring up, is the fact that it's like I feel like there's a fundamental misunderstanding of how you perceive the ending of the first one, and I feel that has been directed at this game specifically, as if you didn't think this was something that was going to happen.
Right.
Or at least at the very least.
I had a feeling that it was going to happen. If you played part one, you'd understand. I mean, it's not about Joel. It was about Ellie. This whole game was about Ellie. And what he did. I mean, Joel
And to
was
be
not a nice
completely
person
honest,
in part one.
to be completely honest, the first game's all about Ellie too. So it's like, it is what it is.
I said Joel was not a nice person before he even met Ellie. They didn't tell you that in part two.
I wouldn't say that he's not a nice person. It's just that he made a clear decision that has a consequence.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like this game fulfills that consequence.
He ran as a hunter for a while. He wasn't a great dude all the time.
I mean,
Well, in this whole world, everyone's gray at the most part. Like,
Yeah.
Except Jesse.
Yeah.
Except for Jesse. Jesse, of course, greatest
Jesse's
character
beautiful.
ever.
I love him.
I was like, before you like met Ellie, he was like
I would have
that.
taken the bullet.
Yeah, before you like met Ellie, he was not a nice person. And when he did get to know Ellie and and everything, he started let his walls down and everything came down on him. And he understood humanity and everything else, and what to do with Ellie because her father or a father figure to her.
Yeah.
I guess just to and it when I meant where I get some of the criticism, it's the criticism where somebody says something and it's actual criticism and not just somebody just blatantly
screaming at Neil Druckmann on Twitter and calling him Neil Cuckman.
Neil Cuckman and telling people to die and stuff like that.
That right there, I would voice my opinion.
I understand. It's more just oh yeah, I didn't like this part. Yeah, that makes sense. I get it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Like I said, when I got to that part where our beloved character got axed, I actually turned the game off, and after I saved it and didn't touch it for a day because I actually went and cried because I was like, man, that hurt.
Yeah, I ugly.
And I was like, let's fucking go! Abby didn't do wrong! Let's go!
Alright, let's go ahead and pass it on to this kid so I can fucking fight him back. Alright, ready? Round 2, go!
Why did a fight, man? Why can't I just be happy?
I already said on record that in the our Last of Us 2 spoiler chat that I would give this game an 8.5 and we gave it a 9. So Ryan who reviewed it liked this game. I like this game. I like this game much more than the first game. But I definitely still have a lot of issues with this game. That being said, and I think the two things that really boil it down is that Naughty Dog games are just, not from a narrative standpoint, but from a level design standpoint, they're just predictable. I hate
when people say that.
They are though. It's just the thing is that they want to. So here are my examples, and I wanted to write a piece on it, and I just feel like it was hard for me to write it down. It's easier for me to talk about it. I remember vividly. The thing is they want to immerse you into this world, but then and then when I get immersed, I get to the point where I remember, oh yeah, I'm playing a video game. And because Naughty Dog wants you to, even though they make this, especially in the beginning of the game, they make this open world for you to explore. It's you can explore it, but you can only explore it the way we want you to. And I don't like that. A big factor in the, there's a specific rope puzzle, right, that I found, and it was you're going out this window, and you're trying to get around this locked door, and then the window right behind it to get you into that room is also open, the glass is shattered. So I throw the rope over the bar, and it just says no to me, and I'm like, okay, I feel at the very least I could try to attempt it, and if I fail, I'll just reline the rope back to me instead of just the game telling me no. Then I move over a little bit, and it accepts it, and I'm like, okay, cool, let's swing. And I start swinging, and I know that I have plenty of room to make this jump and hit this platform or whatever, and it misses, and I'm like, I'm right there, and then I reset the rope again, and then it finally works, and it's why is that necessary? It just completely ruins the immersion of this game for me. And then another example from a more level design standpoint is that I hate how, with it being they want to immerse you into this world, with it being there are certain puzzles that are set up in a way that you can how to explain it? In the beginning of one of these missions, when you're Abby, right, you start on this road where you just can't get across, right, and then just there's a random wood plank that's just sitting there on the road. That's it. And I'm like, that's obviously the way you need to get across. I'm like, but why is that there? This is the one wooden plank I've seen in the entire game, and it's just conveniently placed to get across this area.
Because video game.
As video games, yeah.
I know because video game, but like the thing is, like Naughty Dog wants you to immerse you and make it feel like it's like this real world that and you're playing as this character. But then when it's just like, oh, like there's this conveniently placed thing, it's just boring. It's boring level design for me. And then like I remember another part where I was like, oh, there's the one ladder that I've ever seen in this game. Oh, that's how you solve the puzzle. It's just like, I don't know, man. Like it's just like it just ruins the experience for me. It's like, oh yeah, I'm playing a Naughty Dog game because that's how other previous Naughty Dog games were as well. And it's just like those are just examples, of course. And it's not like it's not the entire game, but I was just like, oh yeah, this is what Naughty Dog does with their level design. Okay, sure. And I can't really think of another developer where I think that way about their games. Does that make sense?
It sounds like you're really, I mean, sorry to jump in. I don't know if you have more to say. It sounds like the fact that they go for like semi-realism is maybe what breaks it for you, because some of the things you're mentioning, I don't feel like are any things that are like if you're doing that in a game where it was like.
They're not deal breakers. They're just.
Or I feel like I feel like you're more nitpicking of it because it is supposed to be like present a realistic world. Yes. But at the same time, it's a video game. So like they can't create a one-to-one real world. Like it's still always going to be a video game where they want you to do stupid things like set a plank down and then balance your way across it because it's a stupid video game.
In the same sense, do you want it so that way there's multiple? I mean, obviously multiple options, but different dynamical ways that you can obviously. Sure, yeah. I mean, I could totally see that, but I mean, the things you're mentioning right now, I'm like, I can't even remember what you're talking about.
I think
the rope one. I don't.
The thing is, are you talking about the rope at the dome? This is the only game I've ever not reviewed where I've written notes because I knew that it was going to be a divisive topic, and I know that I historically am like kind of a Last of Us hater because I don't think it's the greatest thing ever.
Yeah, it's just a copy of the Walking Dead game.
It's just the road.
No, hold on, sorry. Oh,
he's got the corona.
Oh no!
The Last of Us, and then he gets the virus.
He's fungus. He's gonna turn into a bloater.
That's like the main thing that I like realized when playing this game. I'm just really tired of how Naughty Dog designs their games in that sense, where they want to, like at least in the Last of Us, like Uncharted is a little bit more excusable because it's like an action adventure more. It's like it's less grounded. But yeah, so that's like my main issue that I came away with the game. Again, I liked this game. I like this game a lot. It's number 3 on my top 10 right now. I in the beginning of the game I had a lot of technical issues. Like there was like stuttering in cutscenes.
I actually want to know.
That's how people have them.
Were you playing on a pro or a normal?
I was playing on a pro.
Okay. I've been trying to figure out because I've heard a lot of people had like technical issues with the game.
I was playing on a Slim and I only experienced one technical issue.
That's good.
It was funny. I actually laughed.
Yeah. and then the like your partners, like whenever anyone's like going with you to fight clickers and stuff, they're not very helpful. Like I remember this whole earlier in the game when you first get to Seattle, you go through the supermarket and there was like 7 infected in there. I took care of all of them myself, and then Dina's just like, look at us, we're doing great. I'm like, you didn't do anything, girl. What are you talking about? Then yeah. So
were you stealthing it, or did you actually go action?
I was gonna say, what mode were you playing on? Like, were you playing?
Well, if you're doing stealth, the game's gonna not let her. Well, sometimes it does.
No,
actually.
sometimes
she
they
does.
Do. They have
people,
to.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like I've only seen it happen though in situations where it's actually realistic to happen. It's not just them scurrying around, darting in front of people, because that's something that's annoyed me.
Yeah. No, they fixed that. I'm happy that they did that.
They would just run past people, and it's like, what? This game, I feel like I only saw them take people down when they saw opportunities where legitimately no one else was seeing them, which I thought was kind of cool. But yeah, those opportunities don't present themselves.
There's a few times where I had like Lev and I'd had Dina, jump up and shoot one or shoot one with a bow and arrow. I'm like, okay, thanks for helping me. Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, and just kind of going, I'm not gonna say that they were never helpful. I'm just saying that there were definitely segments where like they literally did nothing. And going back kind of on the how like Naughty Dog wants you to play the way they like designed you to play. I don't get why I can't. I don't get why I can't unlock doors using like a crowbar that is a melee weapon that you can get, or Ellie's knife, or make a shiv, because we know that shivs are still things. Because when you play as Abby, she doesn't have a knife and she makes shivs instead. I'm like, why couldn't I do this like I did in the first game? Because Naughty Dog wants me to throw a rock or break open a window and get in through that way. I'm like, that's unnecessary.
If you just did the things you did in the first game, that would be pretty. Wouldn't you say that'd be derivative though?
Multiple options.
I mean, I feel like they give you multiple options in certain situations though. Like
you could go on the window on the right or the one on the left.
There are plenty of places. There are plenty of avenues in this game that you don't even have to explore though. Half the time, like they give you a wide linear design to run around these areas, and you don't even have to poke your head into half of them.
I know, but the fact is, like, it is there, so it should have those options. Like, again, like I don't mind the window breaking and stuff like that, but it's just why can't I do this if I have the realistically, especially in a game where you're trying to immerse me into this real world, why can't I break open a locked door with a crowbar that I have, or why can't I do this and that realistically should work? Because Naughty Dog wants me to play this way, and it's just like,
I feel like it's because Naughty Dog wants you to play a certain way. I feel like it's because games have to have limitations at some point. Like this game was in development for 6 years. Like, how many other things can they add to it before it's like
a lot of the things that you're saying? I'm gonna switch to my camera. A lot of things you were saying, like to me, are in like a Fallout game. But I feel like that's at the cost out of a lot of graphics. Like sometimes there's hitches in that game versus this, where I feel like this is way more polished, and you have obviously those things. But that's fair. I'm actually gonna give you this one because I do think that having options is probably good.
Naughty Dog has people have high expectations for Naughty Dog, and due to that, I do as well. Even though I don't think that they're as great as other people think, I still think they're a great studio. I just don't think that they're like top of the food chain.
I mean, they make Crash Bandicoot, so they're automatically down on the belt.
So when people have these expectations, I'm just like, okay, well, I'm going to go in with these expectations as well. And again, just with a game that has more openness and exploration, even though it is still technically not an RPG or like anything like that, I feel like that these are reasonable things that should have been options in the game. Like, if I have a crowbar, let me open the door with a crowbar. Like, I don't think that isn't reasonable.
I think it always just comes down to like everything being in service of the story, because that's like what they are trying to. That's the thing that they're trying to get you to do is go. What
do those options affect the story for? Like, how does that affect the story?
Well, they want you to go into a certain path, right? That's like kind of the complaint here, is that they are pushing you through a certain path rather than letting you explore this entire city.
Makes sense.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, if there's like a building, like when you go through the main gate to get into Seattle, and there's like the building, and it's like, oh, you have to go around and break the glass, but because the door is locked. If I have a crowbar, I should be able to just open the door and just move on with my life. That's what I'm saying. Like,
fair enough, Cam. But I feel like the things that you're bringing up are really only good for that one area in the game, because everything else is pretty open.
No, there's plenty of areas like that
that are pretty much directing you in one direction.
Well, there's so many areas. I guess with the specific like window door option, like it takes 2 seconds to throw a brick through a window or just punch it and hop through.
I'm going to bring this up because I'm just thinking now about Final Fantasy VII. There's one where there's like a door, like a fence, right? That's just locked because you need a key. You have a giant freaking sword on your back. Why can't you just slash the thing? Why can't you just slash the gate open?
Good
it's like
point.
The same kind of stuff like that.
Why couldn't I use this one there, Cam?
I guess the only difference is that it's more that like Final Fantasy is quite literally a fantasy world, whereas like a Naughty Dog game is built in reality.
Final Fantasy people
trying to emulate it.
Or better yet, Mike. Whatever. Or better yet, like you're saying about the sword. I have fire magic. Why can't I just melt the door?
I think it just comes down to like what Logan was saying with like there's the point where things need to be limited, and yes, like that is, of course, yes, that would be great if I could just take a crowbar and open a door or whatever and give me that choice or whatever, but I don't know. I guess that's just
It'd also be the more stressful option. That would be hurtful on your arms. You gotta actually get in there and pry that son of a bitch.
She only has so many calories.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I disagree. I still think that, I still stand by what I said. Sorry, I didn't want those topics to go on for so long. Not a big fan of the control. I think you could change it, but like I didn't even look to. So that's my bad. Control scheme, like the default control scheme, was not good in my opinion.
One is always.
How is it different from the other ones? Or
I didn't think that one was the first one was good either. I guess then I don't remember. I think that like having
Crouch
the dodge
is
with
on circle, jump is on X. You shoot with the triggers.
Dodging with L1. Dodging with L1.
Just I don't know. The dodge mechanic.
No, the dodging. I thought the dodging mechanic wasn't great.
That was easy.
No, like. Like I would run into
options. I mean, anybody should have remappable options.
But I'm just saying, like I found like experiences where it's like, oh, press L1 to dodge. I press L1 and I still get hit. I'm like, okay.
It's all timing. Did you feel like time it just right?
I mean, here I'm gonna give Cam this one because I think any game should have remappable options. If you didn't like the way that his dodge is, it should be on a button that he prefers.
And again, I didn't check to see if there was a control scheme like changes, and that's my bad.
I should ask Steven that, but there probably is.
Yeah.
Especially the non-flink option. The non-flink option's so good.
I'm trying to think about. And then with the narrative, let's talk about the narrative. I like it overall. Joel got what he deserved, in my opinion, and
I'm just not happy about it. But you're right. You seem so happy about it.
You seem happy about it, like.
Yes, because I've been like I've been telling people like, yes, oh yeah, we don't know what Ellie would say. Like if you know Ellie's character, you know she would have been down for the surgery. I don't need to hear her say it. Like if you know her character, she would have been down for the surgery. So when
that's
she
what
said,
happens in this movie.
She's also got it. She's also people suicidal. And is dealing with the fallout of her best friend, which happens 2 weeks prior to the whole events of this game kicking off, and she thinks she should be dead. So she pretty much has no will to live in the long term. In that,
he was ready to die. I mean,
I just checked. Last of Us 2, you can completely change all the buttons.
I didn't look that up, and that's my call. I still think that dodging in mechanic was inconsistent. That was through my experience.
Matt would say delete.
My point. We don't have to get too deep into this, but my point about Ellie wanting to do the surgery or whatever, I think it was just as much because she had survivor's guilt as it was the fact that she wanted to try to save the world or whatever. She like, are you kidding me? What is the point of Left Behind then? It shows you that she has to watch her best friend die, somebody that she loves right there in that moment, and then the first game ends with her even bringing it up.
Yeah, she brings it up in that moment.
Brings it up there at the end out of nowhere because it seemingly is just like out of nowhere. Like, hey, I had a best friend. Like she doesn't mention Riley at any other point in that whole game until she's kind of mopey at the very end and trying to talk to Joel.
She does mention Riley.
I think she mentions that she may have had a friend or something like that, but
she
tells the story of Riley literally at the end.
But she doesn't tell the story until the very end. I think that's very telling because she feels like she shouldn't be alive at that point, and she's still dealing with the survivor's guilt of. That's why she says everybody I've ever watched has died. She doesn't think she should be alive at that point anymore, and she doesn't think that she deserves to be alive anymore either because she got bit. And somehow she chose to live when her best friend didn't, and she feels guilty about that.
Yeah, but even so, like when she got mad at Joel and when she said at the end of the game, my life would have fucking mattered, none of that seemed to do anything with what you're saying. It was just, no, my life would have fucking mattered. And that's exactly how I've always felt about the ending of that game.
No, absolutely. And I don't think you need to agree with Joel's choice at the end of that game. But at some point, I would assume that you would at least understand why he would make that choice. Go ahead, sorry.
I understand why he made the choice. I totally understand, even though I disagree. But what I'm saying is people say oh, Ellie didn't get the choice. I'm like, but if you know Ellie's character, she would have done the surgery. So I don't know why.
Yeah, but that's the whole point of the end of the game is that he takes it from her, and that's why that's that lie, which sets up this game. So I get what you're saying.
That's why I don't like Joel.
And you don't have to love him, but I'm just like, geez, you're excited he gets queued up.
The thing I would say about Joel's character the most, and the thing that the end of this game finally proves the most about Joel, no matter how you feel about Joel, Ellie's character comes to a point where she is the person who was wronged the most in that situation, outside of perhaps Abby, who had her dad taken from her. She was the person who was directly wronged by that. And what does she want to do by the end of the game? She wants to forgive Joel and she wants to mend their relationship. And she decides to watch some action movies with him later that night before he dies.
Right. At least Commando.
I like that.
So the point that the whole Joel is evil thing, I've never understood, because even the person that he was arguably most heinous to or wronged the most outside of, again, Abby, was Ellie. And by the end of this game, she comes to realize that she wants to have him in her life still and forgive him for that.
Yeah.
And another thing, I still
like join the game.
And another thing,
but that doesn't mean. Go ahead.
Another thing, I still don't think Joel would died, because Tommy's one gave it all away. If Tommy wouldn't have said his name, this probably what all would have happened.
They would have.
He probably knew about Tommy though, and it doesn't.
Yeah. Tommy said, anyway. Like, his name is Joel, my name's Tom, and she's like, oh.
I'm not gonna give it that, because I still think even if he said his name, it doesn't matter.
She knew that second they walked into her and came.
But yeah, like I understand that, and that is just, again, like it is a very human story of like flaws and things like that. I get that. That doesn't mean like I don't think that Joel's a bad person, and like I'm not Ellie. I'm not Ellie. I don't, I can like understand where she's coming from, but I will never be her. I will never like fully understand how she feels as a person. So like, but assuming that my fatherly figure did something similar, then yes, I would want to try and forgive them. But that doesn't mean that does not excuse them for their actions. You know what I mean? But yeah, so that's that. I'm not going to go into that any further. Also, another thing, again, which I think one of the mics brought up, I think, is the treatment of minority characters in this game is terrible.
What?
The Logan, how Logan Joel's death was poorly executed or something. I'm just like talk to all of the other minority characters in this game. Jesse got done dirty. Fucking
Yara.
Yeah, like Yara, kind of like, oh yeah, she kind of saved them, but also
Isaac.
like, no. Isaac gets shot in the back, and we don't even really know if he dies for sure.
They say it on the radios.
Manny.
Oh, they do say on the radio? Okay. So
Manny.
yeah, he dies. Just it's all like really lame in my opinion. Like they're just very quick and swift, and I was like really upset with that.
I think this is something we mentioned like in the chat or whatever, that we had the whole spoiler chat or whatever. And like I do agree, but I think it's less of how, I think it's more of a problem of the games industry as a whole, rather than just like Naughty Dog or Last of Us itself, that these characters are their deaths are treated like garbage. And also like in the same vein that like it just so happens that like, okay, this game has these minority characters, and I think in terms of like how they're represented, I think is done really well.
I agree on that end.
I think
except for Manny. Manny's representation is
Manny's
bad.
representation is the one that's maybe not the greatest, but I think everybody else is
I know a
represented.
lot of people like Manny, and they need to stay out of my room. I'll say.
That's fair. And I think they really do represent like a bunch of different people like really well. But I think how they treated the deaths and stuff like that, I think is just, it ends up being that you had such a diverse cast, and then all these deaths are happening kind of the same way, and it is all the minority characters, and even then you look at it and it's like, well, Tommy didn't die and he gets shot straight up in the face.
Oh my god, like, I was so mad. He gets shot in the face and he lives? Are you kidding me?
So that
made me mad.
And I'm like, well,
it's in this game.
It's hard to even like argue that. So it's like, I get it, but I think that kind of treatment of that, I think, is almost less of a Naughty Dog thing, because I think Naughty Dog did a really great job of representing people in this game. I just think that problem is less just this game and it's more of just a problem with the industry as a whole. Like
I don't agree with that. I'm sorry.
Like and especially for AAA games, I feel that way.
Can I jump in here?
Stuff.
I feel like if this was any other game, it would just be the cast would just be a bunch of white people. And I feel like the fact that Naughty Dog goes out of their way to put a Jewish bisexual young woman, a lesbian young woman, the one white dude who gets his head caved in the opening few hours, another white dude who's not in the game but for a couple hours. Those are the white dudes in the game. And then you've got an Asian male, you've got a transgender boy, you've got an Asian woman, you've got, I mean, most of the cast in this game is not like it's diverse in the first place. So when you go out of your way to specifically make the vast majority of the characters that you run into in this game diverse, and you put them in a world that is a be quick or be dead type of situation where people are dying left and right, like, yeah, those things are going to happen. And I feel like it might come across like you're saying, Cam, where people are getting treated dirty, but I don't think they're getting treated dirty because they're minorities. Because in any other situation, I feel like they would be treated like, again, this game could be all white people, and I feel like they would still make the same choices, like Manny getting his head blown off out of nowhere, or Jesse too, or just things like that.
Here's the thing about The Last of Us, both games, which I have an issue with. Every character that isn't Joel or Ellie, or like in the first game, or Joel and Ellie and Dina in this game, and Tommy, I guess to an extent, they like everyone's deaths are like feel just meant to push the main character stories forward, not because they really like deserved to die, or like that their deaths were meaningful in any way outside of just pushing the main character story. And when the main characters are all white, it's just kind of like it's kind of shitty, because like I don't want to make so many comparisons, but the best comparison I can make is like how they treated the deaths in The Walking Dead. Like in The Walking Dead, like the deaths felt like more like, some of them were like surprising and out of nowhere, which made sense because that can happen. And then there's others that were meaningful, and like it's just like the way that they execute the deaths. I think that is just really rubs me the wrong way. Because again, like The Walking Dead has a very diverse cast, but they all die like so differently from each other, and whether it be like a meaningful death or like an unexpected death or whatever it may be, that is more effective to me and makes more sense to me than what I see. Like Yara died because she had to save Abby and Lev, and so they could escape. Like, oh, that's shitty. And as well as killing Isaac, and then like, oh, Jesse died literally out of nowhere because he opened the door, and then Abby made like a fucking random blind shot and just happened to hit him in the face. I'm like, okay, sure. It's just the way that it was executed that I feel that was. Jesse? To Jesse, yeah.
I mean, she had the opportunity. I mean, if you want to play like he opened the door and she had the opportunity to aim. I mean, I'm assuming she's aiming.
I mean, I felt like that was executed really quickly.
I mean, I'm not saying you're not wrong about that. How fast it is shown from the perspective of Abby.
She's well trained, so maybe that's that too. But
like you said.
But it's just, again, I just like the way that they, and like in the first Walking Dead game, like the only two black characters are brothers. The younger one gets infected. They make the brother kill the younger brother, and then he shoots himself. Like, are you actually kidding me? That's terrible.
Sorry,
that's what I'm trying to say.
I misspoke in that I meant that like the main protagonists are usually white people. Like that's just how it usually is. Which that's what I meant is like the problem with the initiative.
Oh, I agree. That is an issue.
Sorry, I misspoke on that. That was what I meant. That's what I was meaning to say. Yeah.
That's a completely different issue.
Let me jump in here. Ricky and Sky haven't talked in forever. Is there anything either of you want to say about this game? And
I'm done rambling.
I'm gonna actually go because I need to wake up and.
Yeah, I was gonna we need to wrap this up. So if Scott or Ricky want to jump in and say anything, have at it. Otherwise, we should probably close up.
I just finished the TV station, so no thoughts.
Okay. Anything from you, Scott?
I have a lot of pent up stuff. Like I haven't like talked about it. So with it being so late, I don't want to open that can of worms.
How about this? I will invite you on another discussion video. with people that I haven't talked to.
I just leave, and then you can do your thing.
You're good. No.
No, I mean it's late for me too. So
It's late for all of us. I want to eat.
no, exactly. So
Yeah, I want to be part of this next discussion. If we
I
do
will.
one.
I will. You know what? We'll do it. We'll do it. Another one. A postmortem.
Bottom line.
I like it.
Yeah.
Bottom line. Game of the year for this, yes or no? Yes, I say.
Yes.
I mean,
It's my game of the year, hands down.
I'm throwing it in the
chilling.
pile. We'll have to debate about it more later in the year, I'm sure. This is going to be...
make sure you add Predator in there.
Yeah, at least statue.
Predator's in there too.
We'll have to add Predator in there too.
Deadly Premonition too.
Oh my gosh.
Just the sound of it gets Ricky going.
I can't wait to play it, honestly.
That's going to be it for Game of the Year Part 2 2020, Part 2 of the Part 2. Thank you for joining us tonight, or whenever the heck you're listening to this, to talk about all these games. Hope you enjoyed this. Again, we will be back a couple months from now doing the third quarter discussion, which will be from July to September. And then, yeah. Jeez, wow, already getting late in the year. So we'll be discussing games like The Ghost of Tsushima and Mafia Remake and not Cyberpunk, that's not coming out anymore.
Deadly
Marvel Avengers.
Madden.
Avengers?
Yeah, Marvel Avengers September.
Ugh. I really want to review that game, but I also don't want to touch that game with a 10-foot pole. Anyway, so yeah, we'll be back next time with those. For everyone here, you can check out all our work at DualShockers.com. I would say, I don't know, you can follow us on Twitter, I was going to say, but I think I can run through this quick. Cam is at the Cinephile Guy. Mario is at Mario Rivera. Michael is at the Michael Ruiz.
Yep.
Mike, what are you at?
Big Mike 102477.
Ricky, are you just at Ricky Freck?
Yes.
Scott, you are at Solid Snake 120?
120. Yep.
How do I know that? And I'm at Moreman 12. You can also follow DualShockers at DualShockers. And then stay tuned to the website. We've got tons of stuff coming up in the next few weeks and months. So anyway, thank you for joining us. We will see you here next time. Bye-bye.
Goodbye to Charlie's Ghost.